All right, guys. Welcome to our recap for round 9, 2018 Benasque Open.
We're actually recording this after the tournament has already finished.
That's right.
But we'll try and avoid spoilers.
Because round 10 was an early round, and we figured it was better to rest than record this video before the final round.
Yeah, which was at 9 a.m. this morning. You know what happened to me last night? I set my alarm for 7:55. And then like 8:05, and then at like 1:30 a.m. I realized I set it for p.m. and not a.m. So I could have very easily overslept this morning.
That was a good catch.
Anyway, this is a game that we play, or these are going to be the games that we played yesterday. Should we start with mine?
Yeah, let's do it.
So going into this game, I didn't really do too much preparation. Actually, I did a little bit. And as I was walking to the tournament hall, I had it in mind that I was going to play the French, which I almost never play. But I prepared some line. And then as I was walking, I realized, I should probably be playing for a win.
Yeah.
And I also realized that he plays the French himself as black. So by the time I got to the tournament hall, I just convinced myself to not play the French and just play a Sicilian.
Okay. So who are you playing here?
I'm playing Gonzalez Lasso, who is, I think, rated like 2200.
Okay.
And he was having a decent tournament, I think. Not sure how he finished, but I did manage to win this game, thankfully. And I knew he played close Sicilian, which I kind of wanted to avoid just because the positions don't excite me too much. But I have experience in them, so that's why I decided to go into this. So I like to play this a6 and then early b5, kind of a pet line of mine, and then bishop b7, a somewhat topical line. And he just plays kind of a standard closed Sicilian. And then in this position, I think the most common move is f4, after which I could go for d5, I could go for knight f6, I could go for b4. He played a more trendy move, knight h3. Why is it not... Uh-oh, did I break it?
Oh, it's probably just froze a little bit. No, it's fine. It does this.
It was doing this earlier, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so he played knight h3. Which I'm aware is playable, and the idea is to not block the bishop on g2.
Didn't you play knight h3 in some game?
I did. Yeah, I forgot about that. And I explained that earlier, the ideas behind knight h3. There's another idea here too, where if I play an early d5, then for example, white would like to take, and then knight f6 would be kind of the standard move. And this would be a strong response to f4.
Right.
But because the knight is on h3 and the pawn is not on f4, he could play knight f4 and put a lot of pressure on
yeah,
d5.
some point difference.
So anyway, I was kind of aware of the ideas. I went for b4 here, chase away the knight, and then I went for d5. I think this is a way of playing. I haven't checked this in the database. I don't know if this is theory or not. But the game continues. Bring the knight to f6. And what I was trying to do is provoke e5. And then he played e5. So I kind of got my wish. At first it looks kind of suspicious for black, given that I'm not really developed and my knight has to move again, and he's fully developed on the king side. But the point for me is to close the structure and then get some sort of French structure,
right?
Which is kind of what happened. I played knight g4, pretty much forcing f4, and then I played bishop e7. And even though I chose not to play the French, we kind of got a French type
You got
position.
Excellent French, I would
and
say.
This is, I think this is a very fine French. I was faced on the queen side. And I think these positions are easier to play for black, because white sometimes just runs out of ideas. And he actually took a very long time, the next several moves, to try and come up with some plan. He started with knight f2. I was happy to trade. I played knight c6. He played bishop e3. And then I play... is it freezing again?
Can we go... Oh, maybe. But can we go back a couple moves? I'm wondering if, instead of taking on f2...
It's frozen.
You could have played h5?
Yeah, so I was thinking about h5. Oh, there's actually some funny lines here, which I should point out. But if I play h5, I think my pawn is just weak. He can take. And then someday move the knight. For example, like bishop e3, and it's very hard to defend this pawn on g4.
I see.
So there's actually a funny line, which I thought he might go into, bishop f3, idea to provoke h5. And if I play knight h6, he plays g4, and it's probably good for white.
Right.
So I was going to play h5 here, and then after take knight f2, I'm okay to gambit the pawn, and I would play d4 here, unleashing my bishop, and then if he takes, I would play queen d5, and there's no way to stop mate, basically.
Yeah, that's good.
So, yeah, so there are some sneaky lines which could have happened, but, okay, he played knight f2,
So
we trade, put the bishop on e3, and I just play a5, and I just want to improve, gain more space, maybe someday play bishop a6, and then he took a really long think, or no, he didn't take a really long think. He played a move here at g4, which is fine. I played h5. And I was playing pretty quickly, and when I played h5, I just completely forgot that he could play his next move, that he could just take. For some reason, I was only expecting h3. I forgot taking was possible. It turned out not to be so bad for me, because I take knight g3, and I just put my rook on h4. And this is where he took a very long think, because the issue for white is that if he gives me one more move to play g6, it's just such a difficult position, because there's really no active plan. Like, he can't chase away my rook, I prevent f5. So he took a very long think here. I think he realized that it's kind of a difficult situation, and after maybe 20 or so minutes, he played f5.
Just pushes.
Which, like, because he took a long think, I kind of assumed that he wasn't entirely confident with f5.
Right.
Because it's kind of a difficult move to play. It does look kind of scary, like white might be getting compensation. But I was feeling relatively comfortable here. I just took the pawn on e5.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah. Now, I should also mention I was feeling really sick during this game. Like, I had a headache. I think I had some kind of migraine, because I had headache and, like, fever type thing. I couldn't, like, sit down for more than a few minutes.
Jeez.
Like, I kept walking around just to keep the blood flowing or something. So I had a very hard time surviving until the end of this game, just physically. But my position was decent.
Yeah, position looks good.
So we trade on e6. And again, like, he was taking a lot of time around here, which made me even more comfortable. Oh, chess base keeps freezing.
Yeah, it's weird it keeps doing this.
Should we restart? Would it be terrible, or?
Nah, I think we just keep going.
Okay, hopefully it's not messing up the recording.
Yeah.
So he plays bishop f4. I played knight g6, attacking the bishop. And, okay, he was trying to create some threats. Knight h5, attacking g7. We trade on f4. And then, for a certain reason, I forgot he could take with the rook. And I realized, okay, the position maybe isn't so easy, because he still has ideas of taking on g7. And there's also ideas, like, for example, if I take on f4, knight take f4, then he's threatening both knight take e6 and queen h5, which are, it's kind of hard to stop both moves. My e6 pawn is also a big target. Like, if I play king d7, he has so much potential to just put all his pieces on the pawn.
Yeah, it looks unpleasant.
So I was happy with the move I played here. It's kind of just a calm move. It's king d7 right away. And I basically assume that I'm going to have to play king d7 at some point. I leave my rook on h4 to prevent any bishop h3 possibility.
Alex Yermolinsky calls this move the Yasser Seirawan.
Because Yasser had the very famous game, right?
Yeah.
People should Google Yasser Seirawan king d7, and it's a much more beautiful position, because it's just some random middle game position, and he just, like, his pieces aren't developed, and he just plays king d7, just such a deep move. And then later in the game, he plays like queen h8, bishop g7, and does cool stuff. Yeah. Now, I will say I played queen h8 in this game too, nice. So I didn't realize it at the time, but I was following the Yasser ideas. So some important nuance here: if he trades on h4 to get the bishop to h3, my bishop on h4 would be controlling e1, so he would have a hard time playing rook e1. Okay, so he plays queen e2. Now I play queen h8. Exerting pressure on the h-file. take, take, and then queen g4.
Mm-hmm.
This is another thing I kind of forgot about. And there were a lot of moves like I was missing from him this game. But I was mainly playing on intuition, and it kind of worked out. I went ahead here and played a move I was reluctant to play at first.
Mm-hmm.
I played this move g5.
Okay.
And I was reluctant to play it because my bishop gets stuck.
Yeah.
But it's just so solid because now my bishop is just a rock on h4. And it's hard for him to remove. And I open up the diagonal for my queen too.
Yeah.
I have ideas of taking on b2.
You keep
Is there a special guest?
Open the door.
Okay.
Oh, it's all good. Okay, good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's fine. All right.
Okay. So he very quickly here played c3, which I don't know if this was necessary. Maybe he was just scared of queen take b2. And what I really wanted to do here is just take the pawn. Just take b takes c3,
Mm-hmm.
b takes c3, queen takes c3. But I wasn't sure what's happening after rook to b1. I wanted to play like queen d4 check, but my bishop would be hanging, so I'd have to play bishop a6 first. And
Or bishop
I don't
c6
know.
probably.
Or bishop c6, because bishop take d5 possibilities.
Yeah.
And I was calculating some line, like bishop to c6, and then I forget what I was calculating. Like this whole game is kind of a blur to me because I was in such a bad state while playing it. Maybe he has queen f3 here.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I was scared of. And he's getting counterplay because his rook has a b file, now he has a f file.
Yeah.
So I just avoided this. And I played rook f8.
Yeah, just take the file.
Yeah, only open file, why not control it? Then he played d4, which actually just loses a pawn, but I'm not sure if he had anything better. Like, it's already difficult here for him, because my king is safe, and I'm exerting pressure all over the place. So I just take, and then bishop f2, and then I win the d4 pawn. And, okay, over the board I was doing very well here. I had, okay, I'm up a pawn after queen takes g5, had a huge time advantage, but still my physical situation was not good. And it was getting worse. And by the time this game finished, I was feeling so sick. But this game had a beautiful ending, which we'll get to. I start with bishop a6, preventing any rook f1, also having ideas of bishop d3, controlling some key squares. Like if he plays queen g6 here, I would play bishop d3 and just stop any checks on the 7th. Exactly. Yeah. So he played queen h6, which I was expecting. Okay. And now he's attacking my rook, and he also wants to play queen to h7.
Yeah, and if rook h8, he has knight f6 check.
Yeah, which is kind of annoying. But I saw this coming. I played queen h8. Yes. He played queen g6. And then I played bishop to d4. I think it was around here I saw like the key winning idea for black. It's all about kind of exploiting white's king somehow.
Right.
So the game continues. Rook e1, play queen g8, and then he plays queen c2. And okay, I haven't given any like tactical moments yet, so I would encourage people to pause the video and find a strong move for black. There might be several strong moves here. Now that I'm looking at it,
yeah.
But I think the move I played was just a feel good move. So black to move.
Okay, so I'm wondering if white has any threat here, like queen a4 check, king d6. No more checks, right? So like rook f2, queen a4 check, king d6. White has to do something with the bishop on g2, like rook g1 or something. And then queen g2, rook f1, rook takes g1 mate. That would be nice.
I was not following that.
Oh, I was thinking, so rook f2, queen a4 check,
okay.
King d6, and then for example, if rook g1, you have queen takes g2, rook f1 check,
I see.
rook takes g1 mate.
But king takes g2. Oh, okay.
Yeah, rook,
the rook is on f2. I see.
Rook f2.
Oh, that's a nice line. But rook f2, queen a4, king d6, knight g3.
Knight g3 also, yeah. And then
I played a different move. Rook f2 is the obvious move.
Yeah.
But there's another idea here.
Okay, let's see what else we can come up with?
I'll give you a clue. It does involve the G1 square.
Oh. Oh, some kind of interference, huh? On F1. So like bishop F1.
There you go.
Or
I don't know if ChessBase can handle this. It's spasming here.
yeah. Or rook F1.
So yeah, it's a question whether bishop F1 or rook F1. I think both moves are good.
Yeah, I guess bishop F1 seems to.
Yeah, bishop F1. There's actually kind of a concrete reason why. So I play bishop F1, and he can't take either way because then I just mate. But he plays knight to G3, which I think is only attempted defending. And I was very happy with my next move. If people want, you can pause the video. I'm just going to show it.
Wait, I haven't seen
unless
it
you
yet.
want to. Oh,
yeah.
You haven't seen it. Okay.
So can you just take on G3? Queen G3 takes
Yes.
rook H8.
Yeah.
mate?
So there's some lines, but everything works out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Queen takes G3. It was two very feel-good moves in a row.
Very nice.
Even after playing them, I still wasn't feeling that good. But looking back on it, it feels good just to witness this position again. And there's some lines to note here. Of course, if H take G3, I'm not mating, but I have rook H8, bishop H3, rook take H3, queen H2,
H2 right.
rook take H2, king take H2, and I save my bishop and it's winning. If he plays queen H7 here, I have queen G7.
Right.
And it leads to some off-the-color bishop ending, but I win the B2 pawn in the end, so that would be probably just an easy win.
Yeah.
And then there's queen A4 check, which is what he played. And the beautiful thing about this, I just escape the checks. I leave my queen on G3 because it can't be taken. Just play king E7. And now he went desperado mode, rook take E6.
What else?
I take the rook. And it's important to note here, queen C6 check, I have queen D6.
Go back.
And then bishop take D5, I have king E5.
Right.
So he played bishop take D5 immediately. I play king E5, and then he resigned.
Wow.
So it was a nice finish.
Great final position. Puts your king on E5 and resigns.
King on E5, queen attacked by the pawn. But he has no checks, and I think it's just mate next move.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh no, queen E8 check, but it's going to be mate in just a few moves.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, feel good game. Should we restart ChessBase or leave it going like this?
If we restart, it might mess with the screen grab.
Yeah, okay.
I think we'll just power
We'll
through.
weather the storm.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too bad.
Okay.
All right, so I was playing another 22 something, maybe like 2280 Mario Balbuena Fuentes, and this was a really interesting game. We ended up drawing, but the game was very balanced overall, so I don't feel too bad about it. I don't think I ever had any kind of advantage other than the first move. Yeah, so he went for the Queen's Indian. I didn't prepare this line before the game, but I kind of stick to what I typically do, which is this rook E1 line. The point is that normally when white plays like knight C3 here, black meets this with knight E4, and this is just a normal line. Rook E1 tries to kind of get a better version of that, because if black plays knight E4 here, then it runs into all kinds of like knight FD2 tactics, and bishop on B7 is hanging. So black has to come up with some useful move, knight A6, and now white plays knight C3, and this is kind of the point of this line, is that after knight E4, I'm okay with recapturing with the pawn on C3 because I restrict the knight on A6. So the main line is actually bishop F4 here. I played queen C2 because I thought this was a line as well. It is a line, it's not that great, but it's playable. Black takes on C3, I take with the pawn.
I will say I'm a Queen's Indian player myself, but I haven't studied any of these main lines. Because remember the first time we ever played?
Yeah,
it was a Queen's Indian.
Bishop B4
I
check?
played bishop B4 check, offered a draw.
Right.
And then it was just over.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think these lines are...
The rookie one's interesting. I like the nuances.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone is wanting to play this for white, it's definitely kind of the more playable option now, kind of like more room for improvement and stuff. So knight C3, knight E4, queen C2, I have to take with the pawn to avoid bishop B4. Then black played F5, which definitely makes sense. Now he wants to put the bishop on e4, so knight e5 just looked like the most logical move. Takes, bishop f6. So I saw one game here where I'd actually just went back knight f3 and had maybe a small advantage. So I guess this would kind of be the theoretical way to go. In the game, I just felt like it was too slow to play this way. Because essentially we have like a Nimzo structure. We have these doubled c-pawns, but black's knight on a6 is out of the game. So that's kind of the imbalance here. As chess base catches up, I ended up playing f4 just to gain a lot of space. I thought this was kind of maybe a better way to put more pressure. But black ends up equalizing pretty nicely. Okay, he starts with d6. So knight c6, queen e8, the knight kind of looks funky. Because even queen a4, knight b8, he'll have in that position. So I went back, knight f3, queen d7, and e4. And this is
you won connect 4.
Yeah, this is another one of White's ideas. Like you induce d6 and the e6 pawn becomes weak. You open the e file and you have a target. But it turns out to just not be enough. I took with the queen here. This looked like the most natural. Rook a8, and in this position I was counting on queen b7, winning a pawn. But only here I realized that black has a nice resource to defend. And if you guys want to pause your video, try to find it. I think it's a good defensive exercise.
The first move that comes to mind is queen a4.
Queen a4, yeah, only move. Active defense.
Like defend, attack,
hitting
c4,
hitting
queen
controlling
c2
the knight.
ideas.
I was skeptical at first, but everything holds. So like, even if I play, I don't know, knight d2 here, I think in many positions black can give the pawn, just play like c5. Just open the position, my king on g2 is going to feel very uncomfortable. So I realized that this was not really playable for white. And actually in this position, after rook a8 with the queen on e4, I think I took like a 20-25 minute think, because I was really at a loss for what to do. Because I realized that, okay, strategically white is worse, so black is wanting to play queen a4, then bring the knight to c6 and a5, like typical Nimzo style, and just hammer on this e4 pawn, the right moment to play d5, and try to make use of white's weaknesses. So my first instinct was to kind of play on the king side, like maybe g4. But it just doesn't lead to very much. I mean, black can play g6 if they want. They can also just put the bishop on d8 after g5, and it's just very hard for white to make a threat. I think probably g6. And we were analyzing this after the game. I would play h4 or something, queen a4. And white just doesn't feel like white's in time at all. I think even, yeah, I don't know how to proceed here, but rook f5 is coming, and I think black and d5, and black is just
even if you open the h file like rook f5 and king f7, it's probably safe for black.
Yeah, I'm not getting much. Yeah, and even here actually black can play d5 in response to h5, and it's just like white is underdeveloped. So I tried to make some of these lines work. They didn't, and so I realized, okay, I have to try just play solid. It's important to realize when you're just not better not to overextend too much. So bishop e3. He plays queen a4, knight d2, and he actually surprised me with e5 here, which he can get away with, but I felt like this wasn't the best way for black to continue. I thought knight b8, I mean, if he wants to, like, I mean, after e5, I think black is comfortable, but if he wants to like play for a win, knight b8, knight c6, this looked a little bit more dangerous. Eventually, I just put my queen on d3, then I thought I hold everything, and then I started advancing g4, g5, and I don't know, at least my rooks are connected. Yeah, so actually one option that I definitely considered back here that people might have been wondering about was just to play a4 and keep the queen from coming in. But this also I just wanted to show, as chess base takes its time, it doesn't really lead to much for white. Probably close to equal, if anything. White will play a5, knight c6, I take on b6, a takes b6, and not much has really happened. Black can still put the knight on a5, queen comes to c6. I didn't really see what I'm getting. So after e5, I think I did basically the only thing. I took and pushed d5. Now I have this e4 square that I felt okay about. And he comes up with bishop e7, which I think is probably the best move. Okay, so now he wants to play bishop c5, and then exchange the bishops and plant his knight on c5 and just have this beautiful outpost. Here is maybe the only moment where I might have missed the chance to do well. I didn't consider this move so much in the game, I'm not sure why, but the best move was knight f3. Then afterwards he told me he likely would have played bishop d6. Not really caring that white can play like knight g5.
This looks very strong for white, just get the knight
e6. Yeah, I mean, I think he basically misevaluated this position because it looks very, very good for white. Even a move like h4 here, and I think
even
h5
like
is
rook
coming.
f1 too.
Rook f1 also possible.
Just like take over control of the f file.
But
it looks like white has so many resources.
Yeah, the reason I like h4 is because f2 is covered. So I just play h4, h5, rook h1, and then I'm just getting a serious attack. So how do you play bishop d6? Then things look good.
Yeah.
But he has other moves here that I think keep the balance. So for example, I think knight c5 here would probably be the most solid. Now black might not want to do this because it's kind of allowing white to get this light square blockade.
Right.
But this position is not that easy for white because whenever I move the rook off the e-file, for example, black has b5 ideas because the queen's unprotected.
Can you get away with knight g5?
And knight g5, I mean,
rook
yeah,
f2.
always be double-edged. Maybe queen c2 is a nice...
that's nice defense.
And then endgame should be okay.
Yeah, maybe your knight isn't so impressive.
Yeah, but maybe black can also play g6 because knight
Right.
e6 will have the same. So, yeah, how do you found knight c5? I mean, I can still play for the win here. Maybe move like rook e2, just kind of keep everything protected. But objectively, black should be okay. I don't think I can dream of taking the e5 pawn in this kind of position. So I guess that was my only chance. In the game, I'm not sure why I rejected this move. Maybe I thought he could play like bishop c5 or something. I'm not really sure. Or maybe even b5 I thought might be annoying. But I'm guessing I can just take on e5 or something. Okay, in any case, I went with rook f1. To be honest, I felt like I'm getting worse in the game. Because once his pieces get to c5, he's going to start challenging my weaknesses. Right. So my idea was to basically trade off all the rooks and then go after his king. Okay, so here I play bishop g5, not to allow him to trade so easily. If he plays h6 here, in the game I thought, well, I'm not going to have anything other than the sack, like bishop takes h6. And then I thought it would be not so clear, but the engine thinks white is just completely winning. And we've almost officially frozen. I take everything, put the knight on e4, and black just has no defense here. Like knight comes to f6.
Yeah, this looks fun.
And
because black's pieces are just on the queen side doing positional play.
And meanwhile, the king is just getting mated.
Yeah.
So I think had I reached this position, I probably would have realized that white's chances are good. I don't think I would have taken the repetition. But I didn't really care because I figured, okay, if he goes for this, then I'll decide. If not, right. And so he ends up playing bishop d6, so I didn't even have to make that call. I go back. He repeats.
This is how the game ended? You just repeat?
No, I kept playing. I decided to trade. Although objectively, I felt like black is not worse here.
Yeah.
But I figured I can at least try. He ends up taking on e3. We trade everything off. He takes the pawn. He played king h3. Essentially, we reached this position. I mean, I don't think either side has a serious way of playing for the win, mainly because white is down a pawn and black has his passed a pawn, so at some point I'm going to have to start giving a perpetual. And from black's point of view, there's no way to really shelter the king without giving white like the e5 pawn and all this play.
Yeah,
so he played h6. I mean, the game could have ended a number of ways here already, like queen c2. I could play like queen g5, and then I don't have anything but some perpetual check.
What about like knight c5?
Yeah, knight c5, I think.
As black, I just want to bring the queen back, stop perpetual, and then start pushing the a pawn.
Yeah, so white probably just plays here.
And you want to play queen d8.
Yeah.
Queen a4. As I'm thinking, okay, you could win the c pawn, but if I can initiate some queen trade, black will have the outside passed a pawn.
Yeah, I don't think it happens. I mean, I think white can give this check.
Interesting. King g8.
And then
oh, you could
just
repeat
go c8
and
f5.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, if white just wants to like force the draw, I think probably
the king doesn't want to move to the e file.
Yeah, you don't want to give the pawn a check. But it's possible had he done this, I would have considered like knight f3 and just go for the initiative.
Sure.
But I don't know. I think he kind of played the most solid move because now his king can potentially get some shelter, and so if I don't give up perpetual, I'm just going to be a pawn down pretty soon. So I said, okay, queen d3. He brings in the knight, and we essentially repeated like this. So solid game. I mean, I feel like he demonstrated some good middle gameplay there. I don't feel too bad about this one. I think he just played a solid game. I had like almost no chances.
Just solid opening, and sometimes that happens in Queen's Indian. Like it's hard to find the advantage for white in the middle game. It's one of the reasons why I don't play like mainline d4 is because sometimes these well-prepared players or they get some structure they're comfortable with. It's hard to
and they're just very solid. Yeah, and it's okay. I'll work on it. Try to find some nuance to grab onto next time.
I'm sure it's a good game to learn from though.
Yeah, but all right, guys. So this was round 9. We'll be recording round 10 sometime soon and releasing it in the future. And thanks to everyone who's followed us on this trip, watched all of our videos, commented, and so on. It's been
one more to go.
Yeah, it's been good.
I keep saying we should do one on top of a mountain. Maybe the last one.
Oh right. Yeah, I guess we could. Yeah, we'll
it's
figure
doable.
it out.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.